Hey everybody, so this week's question is, how do we sit at a table with those with whom we disagree? This is going to be something that comes up all the time for folks, regardless of season. It is going to happen, of course, in this upcoming season with Thanksgiving dinner and maybe with Christmas, depending on who's going to be at your table. How do you sit there with someone where you might have a big disagreement with that person about whatever it might be? Well, there's no one right way to do that, of course, but I think there's kind of two key things that if we think about them, it really helps us do that well. Number one, it requires humility. Number two, I think it requires bravery. From a humility standpoint, there is supposed to be a head of a table, and even in a round table, that you always know that there's one person who's the head of the table, the person who's really the center of that particular table. And the reason I say that is because whenever we see Jesus, we recognize that he was the head of the table, no matter where he sat. In fact, he would show up at parties, and Jesus was supposed to sit at the place of honor at the head of the table, and instead Jesus would sit somewhere else, but then that became the head of the table because Jesus was always the most important person at that table. The recognition of that, and then he challenges his followers on that. Look, don't think of yourself as being the head of the table. Go to a lower spot so that you might recognize that there are those there who sit at a higher place than you. If we're humble when we come to a table, we recognize that other people have different thoughts, ideas, experiences, expertise, knowledge, all kinds of things that we might not have. We're not always the most important person at the table. In fact, I would surmise most of us are rarely the most important person at a table. And if you come to a table with a sense of humility, I think that changes the dynamic right away. But then also to consider bravery as well. I think one of the challenges with why we have so much disagreement in our day today is that we are not brave enough to speak truth. Or instead of doing what is actually speaking truth, we might speak really out of anger or condescension or with a mic drop that we think just shuts down all conversation from there on out. And that's not brave. No, bravery is being able to say something that matters to you with respect, with clarity, and with kindness. When we do that, that's an entirely different conversation than I think most of us see modeled for us today. Most of us see happening within our spaces around us. And so if we're in a space where there is both humility and there is bravery, I think you end up being able to bridge some gaps and some challenges that isn't being done very well. It won't be easy to share a table with those people with whom we disagree in the upcoming months and years. But I, for one, am going to try to lean into those two qualities, and I hope in so doing that it might lead to better conversation and a better table. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.